Hello, my lovelies. It is time for my best and worst of 2025. So stay tuned. So I don't have like a top 10 most loved books of 2025 or a top 10 worst books of 2025. I kind of made a list of my top ones and my bottom ones all kind of together, and I think there's 7 that I want to say were my best of 2025, not in any particular order, and 5 of my that I was least impressed with. And so I thought I would tell you what they are and then show you the clips from when I was originally reading them, so you have my fresh thoughts on those books. So, my top books for 2025, in no particular order. The first one is A Breath Too Late by Rocky Callan.
Okay, so I stayed up until 2:30 in the morning to finish this book because I was like, I cannot do this another day. And not because it was bad, quite the opposite. This book was fantastic. It was a 5-star read for sure. It is so beautifully written and so incredibly heartbreaking. I was already crying by page 10. Again, I'm tearing up again talking about this book. And I can honestly say I don't think I have ever cried as much as I cried while reading this book. Like, every couple of chapters I was in tears. Sometimes I had to stop reading because I couldn't breathe, or I couldn't even see the page because of all the tears in my eyes. So this is about a girl named Ellie, and Ellie unalives herself, and as the light is fading, she regrets it. And then she's a ghost. And at first she doesn't even know she's a ghost. She doesn't remember what happened. And she's just kind of going through the motions of her day when, there's an announcement made about what happened to her. And you're seeing how everybody else is affected by her being gone. And she doesn't know why she's in this limbo state. She feels like she has to remember. She has to remember what happened and everything before she can move on. And we go through, like, this whole thing is written as letters. So you got letters to death, letters to life, letters to her mother, her father, her best friend, letters to magic. And it's talking about what's going on at that moment and how their life, that these people's lives are affected by her being gone, but also memories that she's having with her and them at different times, and kind of like what led to this decision. And so this is the first letter. They're significantly longer than this, but this one is to death, and it says, "As blackness eats my last sliver of consciousness, I realize I regret. You aren't beautiful, free, or romantic like in all the novels I've read. You are a girl who had no hope left, who realized too late she wanted to live. I thought you would save me death, but you are a liar, just like everyone else." And her father was very physically abusive, mentally, emotionally abusive as well, to both her and her mother. And she spent her whole life hiding bruises. And if you like a book that makes you cry, this will do that. And I can tell you that this is a book that will most definitely stick with me. 5 stars.
Next was The Lost Story by Meg Schaefer.
This book was fantastic. If you're a fan of fairy tales and Narnia and things like that, you're going to love this book. So our main character, well, one of our main characters, I guess, Emily, she is looking for her lost sister. And the last her sister was found were in these woods. I forget what the name of the woods are, but it's in the West Virginia State Forest. Anyway, so 15 years prior, these 2 boys got lost in the woods and were missing for 6 months, and then reappeared in better shape than they were when they left. Not like 2 boys who've been starving out in the woods. And Rafe, he doesn't remember anything about their time, and Jeremy does, but he won't say, because they were in a magical world. And Jeremy has this ability now of finding lost people and lost things, and so he's kind of become a professional at this. Rafe has become a bit of a recluse, and there's a big rift between the 2 boys, or now men. And Jeremy has kind of become a little bit of famous for helping find lost people and survival and things like that. And Emily searches him out to help her find her sister. Her sister's been missing for 20 years. It's a cold case, and she just wants to be able to, if her sister's dead, find her body and bury her. And she believes that Jeremy's the only one that could help, because police gave up a long, long time ago. And Jeremy knows exactly where she is in this magical land. And this was fantastic. This was about family, found family and biological family. It was about trauma. There's a queer relationship in here. There's a storyteller. There's a lot of odes to fairy tales and writing and magic and words. And I loved it so much, and I give this 5 stars.
Next is The Lonely Hearts Book Club by Lucy Gilmore. So it is still Sunday, March 2nd, and I've completed one more book. I finished The Lonely Hearts Book Club by Lucy Gilmore, and this book is precious. So we have like 5 different perspectives in this book, but they don't really go back and forth. It starts out with Sloane. Sloane is this quiet, timid librarian, and every day this curmudgeon old man named Arthur McLaughlin comes in the same time every day, and he essentially picks fights, but they're kind of good-hearted fights with her. And one day he comes in and he's shuffling around a little bit more. He's got a phlegmy cough, and his fight that he picks with her is different, and it's cruel, and he's angry and bleak. And then she doesn't see him for several days, and she's super concerned about him because he's always there. And so she ends up kind of stalking out his house, which essentially gets her fired from her job, to find out what's going on with him. And he's pretty much bedridden. And she kind of forces her way in to take care of him. She ends up making friends with the lady that lives across the street, who also kind of wants to help Arthur, but is also kind of scared of him because he's not a nice man. And she ends up bringing food around, and between Sloane and Maisie, they're helping take care of Arthur, and end up forming a little book club. And throughout, we bring in the other characters like Mateo, who is also a librarian, but he's also been a lot of other things. He kind of goes through jobs, and one of his jobs in the past is a registered nurse. And Arthur's required to have a registered nurse, so they kind of pull him in to do that, and under the guise of being in a book club. And we also have Greg, who is Arthur's grandson, who's also kind of been stalking out Arthur's house but afraid to go in. And Greg's mother, Arthur's daughter, passed away, and like her dying wish was for him to fix things and be a part of her father's life, Arthur's life. And this is just really a bunch of lonely people coming together, and a found family and love, like not the romantic love, but just like the love of family and friends. And this was precious, and I'm giving it 5 stars. Next was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I love everything by her. So it is Thursday, March 6th, and I've completed one more book. I finished Bride by Ali Hazelwood, and guys, this might be my favorite Ali Hazelwood book so far. I freaking loved it. That book was HOT hot. Hot, 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 hot. Oh my goodness. So Ali Hazelwood, all her books prior to this were set in the real world and were very STEM based. And this one was definitely fantasy. We have vampires and werewolves and humans all living in the real world, I guess, real world-ish. But they have like defined lines, like areas. And it's very tumultuous between each of the different species. Our main character, Misery, is the daughter of the head of the Vampire Council. And when she was 8 years old, she was kind of traded as collateral with the humans. So each species, the humans and the vampires, had to give up a child 8 years old that was somebody important or related to somebody important. So in this case, Misery being the child of the vampire head council. And I don't know who the child was from the humans, but the human lived with the vampires and Misery lived with humans from the time she was 8 years old to the time she was 18. And she, of course, didn't fit with the humans because she wasn't one. And she was a very lonely child. She also was almost assassinated multiple times. She was a lonely child, and eventually her human caregivers, brought a orphan child about the same age as her named Serena. And her and Serena became the best of friends. They were sisters. They were as close as two people could be. And that continued on later in the years. So once Misery turned 18, she got to go back to being with the vampires, but they did not treat her kindly and kind of treated her like she was a traitor because she lived with the humans, but she didn't really have any choice in that. And she decided the best thing would be to continue living with the humans. So she has brown contacts, she shaved down her fangs, and her and Serena continued to live together. They went to college, all of these things. And then now they're 25, and Serena has gone missing. And Misery will do anything to find her. This is the one person in the world that she loves and cares for deeply. So she goes to Serena's house because at this point they have their own apartments. She goes to Serena's apartment because she's like, oh yeah, Serena's got this new stupid cat that she, is going to have to feed or whatever. So while she's there, she discovers this piece of paper that has L.E. Moreland on it, and it's like from Serena's planner, and it's the same date that Serena went missing. So that's at this point, that's her only clue as to anything about Serena. And then her father tells her that there's some change in politics, and now they're going to try to form this iffy ally with the Wares. And in order to do that, she must marry
the alpha wear. And at first, Misery is like, no, absolutely not. Until her father says the alpha wear's name, Lo Moreland. And so Misery instantly agrees because she's like, Ellie Moreland, Lo Moreland. This is her way of getting in and trying to find some kind of proof, some kind of something to help her find Serena. So she, of course, marries him, and of course the Wares are not happy to have her in their territory. They're not happy to have their alpha wed to a vampire. So they don't take too kindly to her. And of course there's assassination attempts there too. There's a lot of conspiracy things. There's mates. There's this weird connection between her and her now husband. And it was so much fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I give this book 5 stars. Fan-freaking-tastic. Highly recommend. Whew. I love, okay, there's a couple things too that I want to add. That I love the fact that in Allie's previous books, her main characters are always very STEM oriented. And in this, Misery is a techie girl and she's into coding and that kind of stuff as well. So she didn't lose that. It's still part of her story. But also the fact that Allie has this incredible way of just building the tension and making things that are not necessarily something sex related just to be freaking hot and very sexy, and just the build up and whoo, Lord. Yeah, highly recommend this book. 5 stars.
Next is Hollow Fires by Samira Ahmed.
I picked up the physical copy of Hollow Fires by Samira Ahmed, and I got through the first little bit, like the first chapter, and I was into the second, and I very quickly decided I want to listen to this. This book is told all throughout in different multimedia formats. So the first is sort of, I think, like a journal entry by Sophia. Then we have like an online magazine article. And then we have like what's going on with Jawad, I think was his name. And just a bunch of other things. A bunch of journal entries, a bunch of news articles, Reddit posts, all kinds of stuff like that. And so I was like, I want to listen to this. And this book, oh my god. So this is the second book that I've read by this author. And the first one was Internment. I remember giving that one 5 stars. This one is also 5 stars. This book, oh my goodness, this book is going to break your heart and infuriate you. And it is so, gut-wrenching and fantastic. So this boy, Jawad, he was a freshman in high school. His family is from Afghanistan, and they came over as refugees. His parents came over as refugees when Jawad was like 3 years old or something like that. And he's a really good student. He's a really sweet kid. And one of his favorite classes is like this make, create kind of thing. And he decided he was going to make this jetpack for a Halloween costume. He got it approved by his teacher, and the goal was to use like recycled items. So he used like plastic bottles and things like that. So he got it approved, and eventually he took it home working on it. And he was so excited to show it to his teachers. So he brought it back to school, and he showed his teacher. His teacher was like really impressed with him. But his English teacher happened to see him and freaked out and reported that this Iraqi kid at school has what looks like a suicide bomber vest on. And he tried to like let her know it's made out of plastic bottles, it's a jetpack, and she's like, yeah. So he ended up getting taken away by police. Like this police were swarming the school. He got taken out. Discovered that, yes, it was exactly what he said it was. Even the teacher that approved it backed him. But the charges got dropped. But he still ended up getting suspended from school. And then once he came back, he was severely bullied and was called Bomb Boy. And after a certain amount of time, he ends up missing. And the conspiracy theorists and all kind of, it was so much. And this whole time that, he's supposedly missing, he's dead. And nobody's really trying, other than Jawad's parents and Sophia, other people in their community are trying to help and stuff, but like the police aren't doing nearly what they should. The news is not doing nearly what they should. The news even refers to him as Bomb Boy, and it's just it's heartbreaking. And Sophia is, I think, a senior in high school at a different school. It's a private school, and she's the scholarship kid, but she's also the editor of the school newspaper. And there's some really bad things going on here where over the winter break, her mosque got this awful threat, and then an article she wrote got, like, the newspaper at the school got hijacked or hacked, and somebody put some, like, white supremacist stuff over her headline, and she got some nasty threats. A swastika was painted on the school, and nobody's really looking into these things, and except for like Sophia and the other kids on the newspaper. And the principal is also like wanting to keep everything hush hush, and he's not okay with these articles that Sophia wrote, and she ended up suspended. And he just wants fluff stories. He's taken all, her say away pretty much. And she's really invested in what's happening with Jawad and his story. And she's also hearing things that, like, Jawad is trying to speak to her. His ghost is there, and he's trying to speak to her and trying to get her to help him. And at first she's trying to ignore it, like she doesn't believe that she's actually hearing these things, but then as time goes on, she does, and she's trying to do what the police can't. And what's even more heartbreaking about this story is this is based on a true story, and it was, oh my goodness, it was awful. And yeah, I'm giving this one a 5 stars. It was fantastic.
Next was Joe and Lori by Margaret Stoll and Melissa De La Cruz.
I looked at the reviews people were putting on Goodreads, and I was kind of surprised by it because there were a lot of people that had given it 1 star without even reading it. And I thought it was fantastic. I'm giving it 5 stars because, okay, so a lot of the reasons why people gave it 1 star was because they thought that it was kind of an atrocity to change the ending of Little Women. That's what they thought this book was. That it was a retelling, that it wasn't like they took Little Women and changed it. And that's not the case. So Louisa May Alcott wrote Little Women, and in most places it was in 2 part, or it was like 2 books, Little Women and Good Wives. In the US, both have been combined into 1 book, but it is still split. Like when I look at my books, you get to the 2nd book in it. But she wrote these based on her and her sisters, and I mean, it was still fiction, but she based this on her family and stuff. And Joe is based on Louisa May Alcott herself. And in the book Joe and Lori, this takes place actually between these 2 books. And Joe, aka
Louisa, in this has written Little Women based on her and her sisters and their lives. And it did exceptionally well. And now she's expected to write this sequel, Good Wives. And it's the struggle that she's going through to write this sequel and make draft after draft and be turned down because it's either too sweet and boring or too exciting and risque, to find just the right balance and to make her readers happy and for her to at least be somewhat happy with how it goes. But it's also like talking about the life that they're going through at this time. And Margaret Stoll and Melissa Dela Cruz, they did a lot of research on things that were happening with Louisa May Alcott during that time and based this stuff on like letters and all kinds of other things. So a lot is based in truth, though of course it's still fiction. And you know, they of course as writers take their own liberties as well as a work of fiction. So the main thing of this whole book is really just Jo trying to figure out how to do this sequel. Though, of course, there's lots of things about her family and, of course, Laurie, who's in love with Jo. And, yeah, I thought it was fantastic. I love Little Women. And I equally loved this book. So, yes, I give it 5 stars. And my last one was How My Neighbor Stole Christmas by Megan Quinn. This one I can tell you about now. I didn't do a wrap up on it, but we did have a live show where we discussed it. It was now a bunch of other stuff. But this was such a fun story. I can't tell you how many times I just busted out laughing while reading this or listening to it. I highly recommend the audiobook for this because it's a full cast and it's fantastic. The narrator is actually probably my favorite character. So this is how the Grinch Stole Christmas kind of retelling. We have Story, who is visiting her great aunt Cindy, and she is there to kind of help her aunt Sydney, who's just had an accident and is in a walker and that kind of thing and needs some help with getting around. And she kind of gets roped into this whole town Kringle competition. And then there's Cole Black, and he is like the town grump, but kind of has a reason because his parents died in an accident like a decade ago, and he was kind of like left as an orphan and was taken in by his best friend Atlas, aka Max. His family kind of just took him in, and he cares for the reindeer on the farm. And they live in this town called Kringle in Colorado, and they pretty much do Christmas all year round. And Cole has a little bit of a history with Story, and he was not happy to see her back in town. And when he found out that she is being part of this Kringle competition, he decides that he is going to compete against her and has to become this holly jolly Christmas guy all of a sudden. And the town is shocked, but also so happy to see him getting into the Christmas spirit again. And it was such a cute, funny story. It's also quite steamy at times, and oh my goodness, some of the scenes. Whew. I'll never look at a candy cane the same way again, that's for sure. I give this 5 stars. Okay, so now on to my least favorite of 2025. And again, I will show you clips from when I discussed these. Some are really, really disappointing. So first off is Murder at Mallowan Hall by Colleen Cambridge. And I've kind of sort of completed one more book.
That was Murder at Mallowan Hall by Colleen Cambridge. And where was it? I got to page 120. It was like the halfway point in this book. And I'm DNFing it. I am bored out of my mind. In the very first chapter, like from the first page, Lydia Bright, she is a housekeeper for Agatha Christie. She finds a body in Agatha's library, a man who's been murdered. He's got a fountain pen through his neck. Up to the halfway point, that's all that's happened. They're like, okay, they thought he was a reporter. Agatha Christie didn't have anything for him, so he couldn't leave because of the weather, so she let him stay there. They had other guests staying there, and somebody murdered him. They don't know who. It's just they're going through asking questions. Somebody found it interesting that they used a fountain pen instead of the big pair of scissors that were on the desk. They found it interesting that the way the blood was splattered, there was a book that didn't get blood on it because obviously this person was reading it and it got put back on the shelf after he was murdered. The cops are kind of like, oh wow, interesting. A murder happened at Agatha Christie's house and she writes murders. And Agatha Christie's like, oh, huh, a fountain pen. That's interesting. Maybe I can use it for a story. That's it. I'm bored and I'm DNFing it. And at this point, I think I will probably give this a 2-star because I can't get through any more of it.
Next is The Paper Swan by Layla Adder. This one was very, very disappointing, which I discuss in this clip.
About halfway through this book, I was going to DNF it. I was not enjoying it. So I looked it up on Goodreads, and I saw that it has over a 4-star rating. I saw people loving this book and talking about it. You know, it slowly builds, and it's a beautiful story, and the ending is beautiful, and all of these things. So it's like, okay, well, let me keep going and see if my mind changed. And it didn't. I really, really didn't enjoy this book. I don't get what the people are raving about. Didn't enjoy. I'm giving this one 2 stars. This follows. Okay, so we have a man named Damien who kidnaps a woman named Sky. He does this in order to punish her father, and he plans on killing Sky to make Sky's father pay for doing something to him in the past. And Damien was Sky's father, as well as Damien, both were involved in the cartel. Damien continued to be in the cartel for long after. And lo and behold, Damien wasn't always Damien, and this is something that's pretty early on in the book. He actually was the childhood friend of Sky, and something happened, and that's turned him into this man. And once she realizes who he was, or is, she ends up falling in love with him. They get it on, even though he literally chopped off her finger to make her dad think that she was being cut to pieces. Literally chopped off her finger, yeah. And there's a lot of back and forth, and he's not willing to let the hate go, and, you know, just love. And even when she gets hurt, he still can't let it go. And this is a spoiler. I'm going to raise my hand for spoilers. He ends up going to jail for all of these things, kidnapping and all of that. He still doesn't let the hate go. Takes down her father's business. That's still not enough. The father dies, and he still won't let this hate go. And so she's kind of done with him. Eventually he gets out of jail and realizes they have a kid together, and still doesn't want to let things go. But eventually he does, and they're happily, you know, there's some more drama, but then, you know, all's well that ends well. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy any of it, really, except for the very, very beginning where she's being, like, kidnapped and all of that. And, you know, she's trying to escape and things like that. That was the only part I enjoyed, because I was thinking, oh, this sounds like it's going to be a good thriller. But from the point that she realized who he was, I didn't like the story anymore. And even the steamy scenes, normally I like a good steamy scene, but I was just like, no, I couldn't feel it, because after the things he had done, no. So yeah, I'm giving this 2 stars.
Next, and this one was a little bit of a shock too, was One by One by Frida McFadden.
I think I'm giving this like 2.5 stars. It was okay. I didn't love it. There's a lot of things in here that I'm just not a fan of, and I don't know, it just kind of in the end seemed a bit cheesy to me. So we have pretty much 2 perspectives throughout this. We have Claire, who's our main character, and then we have Anonymous, who is our killer. And Claire and her husband are going on a week-long vacation with Claire's best friend Lindsay and her boyfriend Warren. And Claire's husband is Noah, and they're also taking Noah's best friend Jack and his wife Michelle. Anyway, so they're all on their way, and apparently, this area doesn't necessarily get the best reception. They have GPS in the car, but they think, it might not work well. So Warren has maps printed out, and when the GPS goes down, he directs them. And Jack is also like a Boy Scout, and he has, compass and knows all about survival stuff. And so they end up stranded in this place trying to find the inn that they're supposed to be at. And one by one, they end up dying. I don't want to say what happens because I don't want to spoil it for somebody that might be interested in reading it. But everybody has secrets in this group of friends. Like, Claire's been having an affair with Jack. Claire and Noah's relationship is very rocky. Warren seems a bit off, even though he's supposed to be like, this big plastic surgeon doctor, but some of the things he says doesn't line up. Jack's miserable in his marriage with Michelle, and he's been sleeping with Claire. But Michelle is like the best divorce lawyer. Lindsay is not acting herself because she's trying to impress Warren, and I don't know. The twist of whodunit didn't end, like, it did kind of surprise me a little, but I don't know, it wasn't all that to me. So yeah, I think I'm gonna give this 2.5 stars.
Next was Pieces of Her by Karen Slaughter.
This one I'm giving only 2.5 stars. I didn't really care for it. Most of the time I was kind of bored, and other times I was kind of confused. So in the beginning of this book, a woman and her mother are in this restaurant, and a guy comes in and is like shooting up the place, and her mom kind of takes control of this whole situation and ends up killing the man. And she's never seen her mom act this way. Her mom's like this very suburban kind of woman, and she ends up discovering there's something else going on with her mom. Somebody comes to her house and tries to kill her mom, and then she is kind of sent on the run. Not her mom, but her, the main character, which her name was Andrea. And in this process, she ends up learning a lot of things about her mom's past that she had no idea about, and about herself, and this whole other life that her mom had before her. And there's kind of like a lot of cult stuff in here, and like conspiracies and violent crimes. And I wasn't feeling it, and I'm only giving it 2.5 stars.
Finally, the last one, and this one was another one that was really disappointing because I was really hoping to like it, and that was The Relationship Mechanic by Carmen Lee. I did not really like this. I'm giving it 2 stars. It follows Jessica and Lavinia, aka Vinny. Vinny is a mechanic in this small town in Georgia. Jessica's visiting a friend. She's only there for a short time. Her and Vinny hit it off like immediately, and Jessica's like, hey, I'm only here for a short time. I don't want anything serious. I can't do anything serious, but we can hook up and have some fun. And that's what they do. And Vinny's okay with that for a little while, but then she's not. And both sides, like Vinny's family and Jessica's friend that she's there visiting, are all like, don't do it, stay away from each other. So they're like trying to do all this stuff in secret. They're like, we're grown adults, we can do what we want. And everybody's getting all mad at them for doing these things and being all up in their business. And eventually Vinny's like, I want more. And Jessica's like, I'm sorry. I'm leaving in like a day or two. And so Vinny breaks it off with her. And then Jessica's like, oh, wait, no, I want you. And this is like this much left of the book. Like, it's almost over at this point. And Jessica's like, oh, no, wait, yes, I do want you. And let's go meet my family in Italy. And now we're getting a place together. And this book was pretty much just smut. It was just sex scene after sex scene after sex scene. And people being all up in everybody's business. And it was annoying. So I'm giving this 2 stars. So those are my best and worst of 2025. I thought I'd also add in on this video a little bit of my plans for 2026. So I still have a lot of travel this year, especially in the first half of the year. So I'm going to, I think, continue doing my once a week videos for now. I do plan on picking back up later. And for some of my games that I know you guys love, like my Have I Read It series and my Better Book It series, those will come back this year. I'm not sure exactly when. It may be a couple of months, but those will be coming back. So you can plan on those at some point. But I'm not doing a big goals video this year. Everything's kind of up in the air. My biggest goals, I guess I would say, getting my house unpacked, getting my library set up. I don't have like goals for how many subscribers. If I look back at my goals from last year, I know I didn't meet them because I think I'm around the same amount of subscribers. This year has been a wild ride with moving and mental health and a lot of things. I needed to do what I did as far as stepping back a little bit, and I don't regret it. I do miss making so many videos for you guys, but I'm also having a great time with all the traveling. And if you don't know, I do have another channel where I'm putting all my travel videos. Those are still kind of backlog videos, but eventually it will catch up to the travel that I'm doing now. So you can go and check that out. I'll link it up here if I can, but it's called My Grand Adventures. And I hope you check that channel out. It's a little baby channel. It's still growing. But I think that's it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye!